Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Nagler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the Cheesehead TV social channels. I am back from New Orleans. I missed you all terribly, but not that much because I had a fucking great time in New Orleans. Holy cow, I love that city. I love being there with my girlfriend, Sarah, who is from there. And let me tell you, when you go to New Orleans with someone from New Orleans, that takes it to a whole new level. I've been there before covering the Super Bowl, etc., which was always great. I love New Orleans already. But you go with someone who's from there, that's a whole nother ball game. And there was there was no better moment than we were sitting at a place called Portugal, which is a bar slash restaurant that she and her family have gone to forever. I'm sure if you've been to New Orleans, you've maybe heard of it. But we were there on May the 4th. We went to see Phantom Menace for the 25th anniversary that morning because she loves me and she likes to, uh, you know, acknowledge my inner geek from time to time. But we're sitting at the bar. I'm having a steak, which was awesome. And we're drinking. And this dude behind the bar has a Star Wars shirt on. I said, "Hey, it's my guy. It's May the 4th. Be with you." And he said, "That's my guy." And we were having a good time, good banter, back and forth. And this dude sitting next to my, we're at the bar, sitting next to Sarah, says, the locals, we call it 504 day. And Sarah doesn't even miss a beat. She goes, "Oh, really? Where'd you go to school?" And the guy says, "Oh, well, I just moved here a couple years ago, blah, blah, blah." And legit just finished his lunch, didn't say a word for the remainder of our time there, and just left without another thought of trying to indicate that he knew what was up when it came to New Orleans. Because she's like, "Oh, yeah, born and raised." And she says, if you're in New Orleans and someone asks you where you went to school, it automatically, that means where did you go to high school? And if you don't answer right away, then they're putting on a front. And this guy most certainly was. But I tell you, I love this town. We went all over the place. We went uptown, we went to the quarter, we were out kind of in the burbs, we were everywhere. And I'm telling you, every place we went, it was incredible. And I cannot recommend the World War II Museum enough. That is absolutely a must visit. I mean, for every American, but really anybody who's in New Orleans should check it out. You talk about putting life in perspective. That is a day, and it takes a day to even begin to see most of it. I think you need probably more than one day, but it was awesome. I had a ball, but I am glad to be back talking Packers with each and every one of you. Hope you're all doing well. The Packers obviously held their rookie minicamp while I was away. I know big, humongous developments happened while I was gone, and no doubt the earth shifted and the stars moved, and the Packers' route to another Super Bowl victory was laid during rookie minicamp. It is funny kind of stepping away from it, but still obviously being online and kind of seeing the coverage and the things that kind of get blown up that really don't mean that much. But hey, in this day and age, we got to create content, right? So I'm glad. Y'all were following along, undoubtedly at Packers.com and all the other beat places that cover it. But it's good to step away every once in a while. That's all I'll say. But they are back on the football field in a couple weeks on May 20th for organized team activities. Still in phase 2 at the moment. When OTAs begin, that is phase 3. That's when they can actually start working groups together. Right now, they can only do individual group work like D line, corners, offensive line, etc. But this is the building blocks. And these are the days where it's not very showy. You're not going to learn a lot. You're not going to find out a whole bunch during the off season when they're in shorts. And yes, they'll have availabilities. I know the assistants spoke today. We heard from the coordinators on Monday, but throughout most of the process, you're not learning a whole hell of a lot about any of these guys until the pads come on. And there's no doubt that what they're doing is valuable. The reinforcement of technique, learning the playbook, getting them on their feet from the classroom to some of the on-field work. It's all very important. It's the building blocks of your football team. That's not to dismiss the importance of the work that is being done, because it is very important. Just from a public standpoint, you're not learning a whole hell of a lot. And there's no shame in saying that, you know? So just remember to take most of these headlines that you're going to see over the course of the next month or so with a particular grain of salt. That's all I'm here to tell you because they're doing important work, but it's pretty damn boring. And, for all the stuff we're going to hear about position battles and who's playing where and all of that, yeah, there's ideas, there's plans, there's projections within the building, within the coaching staff. But that can all change in like 2 or 3 practices after the pads come on, and you see a guy who maybe is rising to the occasion, or maybe a guy you didn't expect turning a head or two and maybe earning a few more reps, and then away we go with down a whole nother path that no one ever expected or talked about throughout the entirety of the offseason, right? So it's just something to keep in mind while you're consuming all this content over the offseason because there is a lot of it. My goodness. Hello to everybody in the comment section. So good to see everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Uh, Starting with Brandy. Thank you for being a Carry the G Club member and, more importantly, a moderator here at Cheesehead TV. I like this. Back from the Big Easy, like when the Packers get back from an away game in Chicago. Go, Pack, go. Ho! I mean, you're not wrong. It does seem like the Packers have it set on easy mode whenever they're in Soldier Field. That is not incorrect. Chris, thanks for the super chat, man. Can it please be the 15th already? I need to know. You need to know the schedule, I believe you're talking about there. There was a report, nothing official from the NFL yet that I have seen, but there was a report that the schedule will be released next Wednesday, the 15th. So get your speed dial ready if you're looking to attend a home game and want to book a hotel, because Lord knows when that info drops, those phones will be ringing. And yes, I will be covering all of the festivities as far as the schedule release, breaking it down, talking about where the good parts are, where the bad parts are, etc. All throughout Wednesday afternoon into the evening once the schedule becomes official. It's going to be a lot of fun. Joey, what's up? Thanks for the super chat. Welcome back, Aaron. Hope you had a great time in NOLA. Hope you're back in February. Got a great feeling seeing that Packers Daily in my feed box. Go, Pack, go. Oh, thank you, brother. Yes, it was outstanding. And I'm hoping, I did see a few people suggest that I was down there scouting for a Cheesehead TV Super Bowl party, which, hey, I do have some ideas in that regard. So we will see. Packers got to do their part. Amy, what's up? Thanks for the super chat. Just here to put my request for a can't fake the funk shirt. Welcome back, Nags. That's a really good idea. Brent, I believe you are usually watching or listening to this after I'm live. Please, Amy is looking for a can't fake the funk shirt. Let's get it going. Kyle, thanks for the super chat. Nags, can you all make that hat into a beanie? That's a good idea. Brent, another one. I will say what's Kyle, thank you very much. What's nuts about this hat is I legit just asked Brent to make this because I love the idea of a black Green Bay hat, right? And I couldn't really find any on offer. The Packers had one, I believe it was with through Fanatics or something, that was kind of cool. I kind of liked it, but it was a little too white. I wanted an all black hat, right? So I just legit just had him make this for me. And it is now one of our best sellers out of all the merch in our store. So hey, it looks like y'all like it. So thanks for that, because God knows we sell them like crazy. And yes, into a beanie. That's a phenomenal idea. We'll get right on that. Ryan, thanks for the super chat. Why is the NFL schedule so secret that it seems like it's in a vault, like the KFC recipe? I mean, who knows, man? Because they like to, it's like Star Wars, right? Like you keep all of the plot details hidden and you build anticipation. Though in the end of the thing, there's going to be a Jedi and there's going to be a bad dude and they're going to have a lightsaber fight. Like, it ain't that crazy. But the NFL is smart and keeps it under lock and key. No leaks, just like, the blockbuster movies of the day where you don't want those plot details get out. Although, especially with Star Wars or Marvel or whatever, it's like they're all pretty formulaic and we all know how it's probably going to go. But yeah, they do a great job. It's one of the reasons the NFL has become the NFL, right? They are able to build interest, build suspense, build drama, narrative, whatever. It's all part of the great reality show that is the National Football League, and they do it better than anybody else. Joe, what's up? Thanks for the super chat, man. Do you think the hiring of Halfley means Matt LaFleur knew he not only needed a new defensive coordinator, but a different approach to defense? If so, when did he decide that? Oh, Joe, that's a great question for Matt. If I can ever get him on truth serum, I suspect, and I don't think he'd ever admit this, but I suspect after the Buccaneers game last year, when they were pretty much embarrassed on that side of the ball. I mean, look no further than the fact that Baker Mayfield was coming off a game where, I mean, he was downright atrocious in Atlanta the week before, and then comes out and has a perfect passer rating and seemingly can do whatever the hell he wants against a Packers defense that was trying to make the push into the playoffs. After that point, there was a lot of talk about Barry's job, and we know from that point on, Matt was more involved on the defensive side of the ball. I tend to think that was maybe not the breaking point, but that was the beginning of the end for Joe. As far as, when did he decide he needed a different approach on defense? I hope that was part of the case. My thing, and I've talked about this before with Matt, we've heard many times about play style, right? About wanting a certain type of play style. And he has certainly tried to drive things in that direction. Hasn't always seemed to manifest itself, though, on the field. And I'm hoping, especially listening to Halfley's last press conference, I did a video about this, and it's not you got to call more pressure or you got to blitz more or anything like that or show more exotics when you come to pressuring the quarterback. It's not about that. It's not about the play calls. It's about play style and what guys are being asked to do as far as their responsibilities within the defense and how they're attacking the offense. We all know, I mean, Barry's system was very, very passive. And they can talk about numbers and they can talk about this and that and schemes and coverages and all that is fine. But the scheme in and of itself was very passive, at least the way they ran it. That's what it very much looked like. Now, this scheme supposedly has guys being asked to do some more aggressive type things, attacking type things, trying to dictate to the offense a little bit more than maybe what we've been used to in Green Bay the last 3 years. I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping that is Matt's edict. Like, I want to see something where maybe, yeah, occasionally we're going to give up something in man coverage or somebody's going to get beat, but you can live with that, right? I just don't want to sit there and watch safeties lined up in, the Kroll's parking lot while they march down the field for an easy score. We'll see. We shall see. Joey, thanks again, man. Random Packer, MD Jennings, he caught it. Damn it, man. You're bringing a whole lot of bad juju into a chat when you not only mention MD Jennings, but then have to reference the fail Mary. My dog. I thought we were boys. I'm kidding. MD Jennings is a very good random Packer. No question about it. What else we got in here? Dean, how are you? Too bad you were on vacay, so couldn't try out as a walk-on. Dean, nobody wants to see that. Although, speaking of, Packers signing a couple guys from those tryouts. That's interesting. If you haven't, make sure you check out Jersey Al's column from this morning. It'll also be featured in the newsletter tomorrow morning if it's just easier for it to land in your inbox. But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating for a team that has had some decent drafts here these last couple of years and had a much smaller undrafted class come in. Even though those, numbers probably weren't very favorable, they still signed, 3 guys from the tryouts? It's interesting. We'll see if they last longer than usual. What else we got here, folks? Oh, wait. Get down here. Random Packer, Colin Cole. First time Colin Cole has been mentioned. Well done. I always thought he'd become more, but he was still a decent Packer. He was a lunch pail guy, no doubt about it. Down in, down out, just did his job. Maybe not dynamic, but he was certainly a guy who, you could count on. Know about that. Didn't they talk about an aggressive defense last offseason? Dennis, kind of. They talked about an more aggressive approach in the secondary, and specifically what was being asked of the corners. Now, we all know how that turns out. We all know this comes back to play style. Like, it's fine to talk about, quote, being aggressive, but when you continuously call a game that asks guys to not be aggressive, or at least not as aggressive as they could be, and or probably have some reason to do, well then yeah, you're gonna be looking a little less aggressive than you'd like. That's why I said in my video yesterday, I try not to get too excited. I got to see it on the field, but I just want to see a defense that is trying to dictate to the offense a little bit more. It doesn't have to be huge things. This doesn't mean you're like all out blitzing every down or anything like that. Chris, thanks for the super chat, man. Joey, I'm driving. Don't traumatize me. Also, any updates on the Carry the G crossing state lines? I can't wait to try it later this year in Green Bay. Chris, thank you so much. No updates as of yet when it comes to Carry the G, but I will say we are definitely efforting on that front, and there's a very good chance that you will be able to get it places other than Wisconsin. I don't think we're close to the entire country yet, anything close to that, but there's certainly going to be some pockets where you're going to be able to get Carry the G that isn't Wisconsin. That's all I can say on that. Andrew, how are you, man? It will be less than a year between NOLA trips. That's what I'm talking about, Andrew. Come on now. Andrew, don't be late. We have happy hour tonight. Don't forget. Top of the hour. Don't be showing up at 6:59 and asking me a 10-minute question. Come on, dog. Be on time. Ed, thanks for the super chat, man. I swear I remember bye weeks determined by the previous season's record. A lot of wins meant a bye late in the season for the next year. Am I wrong? And if not, when did this change? Ed, I think it probably felt like that, but I don't think that was ever a policy. Someone can correct me if I'm completely off here, but I know it felt like that, right? Like because the Packers had been deep playoff, merchants, so to speak, and the Packers always seemingly had late season buys, that it maybe felt like there was a correlation there, but I don't believe there was ever anything policy wise that, where the NFL was scheduling it that way on purpose because of that. Again, I could be wrong, but that is my recollection right now. Jonathan says, I listened to Halfley and I feel a bit for Devondre. Yes, his play wasn't great, but this sounds like the coach he wanted. I hear you, man. I hear you. It's interesting, right? Because I would suspect that Devondre would warm to this type and style of defense a bit more. But man, there's only so much a scheme can do for you when you still got to make a play, right? You still got to swivel your hips. You still got to go sideline to sideline. You still got to take that travel with that back or, that tight end up the seam or what have you. Man, it just seemed like there were plenty of instances where he was got a clear one-on-one chance and just was not up to the task. Now, maybe that's injuries playing, maybe that's age, who knows? Maybe he'll go to San Francisco and be completely revigorated. We'll find out. But I think there's a bit of both there in my mind. But I agree with you, especially given his tweets earlier this offseason regarding the coaching staff and what they were being asked to do and not asked to do and what he was ignoring. I think there's a lot of smoke there, but there's some fire, to quote my man. Joey, I love that we have a conversation going back and forth in the super chats. I'm sorry, Chris, but also I'm always of the opinion, talking about the defense, that I've rather get burnt on an 80-yard touchdown than a 10-minute TD drive. I mean, yeah, I get that, right? And I think that's a lot of frustration over the course of the last 3 years watching Joe Barry's defense play bend but don't break, keep it all in front of you. But it's not like it was entirely different under Mike Pettin. I would say Pettin was probably similar in that regard, but knew when to push the envelope a little bit, right? And occasionally, yeah, you'll give up a play, but you certainly are never sitting there going, well, we gave up a touchdown. Big deal. I mean, it's always a big deal. And it's always a problem when you're giving up big plays. You don't want to bake that into the recipe, right? But I'm with you, man. It just gets insanely frustrating when guys just aren't even allowed to compete. That's my thing. You've got these rangy, athletic ball hawking corners, and you're having them play so far off. You have these safeties way back in the parking lot. Can we at least let them compete? And that's what it feels like Halfley's going to do. Now, who knows? Once the Bullets are live, we'll see what type of game he calls, what he asks these guys to do in certain situations. And that's the other thing. Situationally, I mean, at times it felt like Barry had no clue what was going on in situational ball. And I'm fascinated to see how Halfley approaches things like third and short or goal to go situations and all of the things that drove us nuts as far as third and 3 and having your corners 12 yards off. All of these goodies, all these hits that got played by Joe Barry, hopefully are in the or in the rear view mirror. All right, everybody. I'm going to have to get going. I cannot thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers. Great to be back chatting with you all. As I indicated to Andrew earlier, don't forget, if you're a Patreon member or a Carry the G Club member, we have happy hour at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central Lambeau time. The information you need for the Zoom to hang out with all of us and chat some ball is on your respective pages. I'll see you guys there. The rest of you, please hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family. Cheesehead TV, we are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack Go.